Welcome back to Naja News. This week's news cycle is so unhinged that half of these stories are going to sound like fake news or a really decent Tubi movie. Today, we're breaking down how exactly Michigan Wolverines head coach Sharon Moore got fired from his $6 million a year job and ended up on a psych hold all in the same damn day. Your First Lady, Melania Trump, is getting dragged for reading Christmas books to sick kids at the Children's Hospital. We're also digging into the Diddy documentary and why is 50 Cent so dedicated to the baby oil bandit. In Florida, a woman allegedly ran over somebody with her car and then drove said car to work and clocked in. Lastly, we're headed over to my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee, where a deputy has been fired after being caught receiving oral sex inside the courtroom. Talk about getting caught with your pants down.
It's not your news, it's news you can use.
And if you're new here, I do this every Wednesday. I gather stories that made me stop scrolling and we break them down together. All right, so let's kick it off with this Michigan story because, by now we all know that little milk teeth Sharon Moore, disgraced head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, little PP managed to get him fired and arrested all in the same day. But before I give you my take on the rundown of what happened, just know that his wife looks to be standing by her man. Mrs. Kelly Moore was just seen walking with her community peen and their youngest child outside of his lawyer's office. I know Dr. Umar is somewhere shaking his head. So what did Sharon do, pray tell? Well, this big dummy just cost himself about $6 million a year behind chasing some tail. The very married father of three wasn't just canned, he was escorted straight into police custody on charges tied to an alleged relationship with a university staffer, his assistant, Paige Shiver. By the way, her father, Jeff, just so happens to have a long-standing career as a scout for the Chicago Bears. Now, the affair itself hasn't been formally confirmed, but Paige's social media pages have all gone private. So draw your own conclusions. By now, we already know that he's been arraigned, but here's where things get really dark. According to prosecutors in court, after that relationship ended, the woman stopped responding to his texts and calls. Then she later cooperated with the university, and shortly thereafter, he was fired. The prosecution wants him bad, and they laid out some really strict bond conditions. They told the judge that Moore showed up at this lady's apartment and began exhibiting behavior they described as highly threatening and intimidating. The prosecutor said he went into the girl's kitchen, grabbed a butter knife and kitchen knives and kitchen scissors or something, and began threatening to harm himself. And this is a line that made the whole courtroom pause. According to the prosecutor, Moore allegedly says, "I'm going to kill myself and make you watch. My blood is on your hands. You ruined my life. Boy, if you don't get your little teeth out." That quote came straight out of the arraignment. I did not make that up. And the prosecution emphasized that while Moore might not have directly threatened her with the knives, the totality of his behavior was enough to terrorize the victim. She was scared and she called 911, and the dispatcher described Moore as suicidal and in need of immediate intervention. The officers later found him at a nearby church. Save him, white Jesus! He's facing home invasion, stalking, and breaking and entering charges. The defense tried to paint a different picture, though. They pointed out that Moore is 39 years old with zero prior criminal history, no prior contact with the justice system, and strong ties to Michigan. They also told the court that he's already undergone 2 mental health evaluations and he was not involuntarily committed. But the judge ain't playing that. Bond was set at $25,000 cash. Moore has to wear a GPS ankle monitor, remain in Michigan, continue mental health treatment, and have absolutely no contact with the victim. No calls, no texts, no emails, no carrier pigeons, nothing. So let's call it what it is. A man who went from a national championship coach to police custody in a single day. And let's be honest, right now his wife is probably befuddled and humiliated and in a daze. But I wonder how long before she gathers the gumption to divorce him, take the kids, the house, whatever pension he has left, and kick off her press tour, start a podcast, launch her own career. She deserves everything. Don't argue with me. Francis Biff Poggi, who appears to be heartbroken at the news, has been named interim head coach, and he'll be on the sidelines when Michigan takes on Texas in the Citrus Bowl on December 31st. Poggi has already stepped in earlier this season when Moore was suspended over that sign stealing scandal, though. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you lose everything in a day. Now let's move on to this Diddy documentary. And you all know I was in the courtroom during his sentencing hearing and so much was left out. Now don't get me wrong, the documentary was good, but there wasn't too much that we didn't already know. Where was Lil' Kim, Mary J. Blige, and Farnsworth Bentley? Oh, and Faith Evans, who in her book wrote about his abusive ways. In the book, Faith says, in late summer, while I'll Be Missing You was still running the airwaves, Puff was invited to perform the song along with myself and 112 at the MTV Music Awards. She says, I did the song. I did the video, but I'm not ready for that type of performance. Diddy, Puff, Love, whatever we're calling him right now, he called her on the phone and she said, Puff, I'm not ready. You not ready? He yelled. What the F are you talking about? I'm trying to get my ish together. Look, we here and we gotta live. We got a hit song right now and we need to perform it together. If you're not ready, get ready. Faith says it's not that simple. In a low voice, Puff said, Faith, listen to me. You want to give up on your career? Fine. And his voice began to get louder and louder. But you will not F up my ish. Do you hear me? Fine, I said. I'll do the show. I hung up and collapsed onto the sofa in the studio lounge, sobbing hysterically. Oh, and what about Gene Deal, his former security guard, who's been all over YouTube airing the baby oil bandit out? And 50 Cent, Mr. Executive Producer. We know he's the petty king of New York, but was this more personal than business? We saw that Diddy is notorious for snagging the women of men that he coveted, and he did add 50 Cent's baby mama, Daphne Joy, to his collection. I remember when 50 found out, he literally taunted her all over his social media and called her a little sex worker for months. Or maybe 50 Cent was just the only person with enough star power and money to make sure this documentary actually got made. That's the question that me and a lot of other people are wrestling with, because when a documentary drops this many bombshells, believes out key witnesses and insiders, it creates a lot of holes. 50 did say that there is enough footage to make a second documentary, and he might just release it on YouTube, so we'll see. But I don't think this conversation is far from over, do you? It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. So let's head over to our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I was just there making noise last week, by the way. So Melania Trump, who I think is probably one of the best dressed first ladies we've seen, she kept up with the tradition started by First Lady Bess Truman in 1945. She visited the Children's National Hospital to read How Does Santa Go Down the Chimney to young patients and their families. You're reading to sick children, so one would think that there would be a little sparkle and Christmas cheer. But no, Melania said absolutely not. First of all, she showed up in all black, head-to-toe grief couture. The kids came for a jolly time and some cheering up, but she gave them funeral chic. One of the issues here, the one that people have been dragging her online for, is that she didn't even show the kids the pictures in the book. She held the book to herself and she flipped the pages for herself. These poor sick babies were looking at the back of a hardcover. The whole point of the story is to show the kids the pictures.
How does Santa do it? How does it work? Does he cinch up his belt or shrink himself down to the size of a mouse, or stretch out like taffy and step in one leg at a time? And then does Santa do laundry before he goes to the next house? So how would he find out about that?
And let me say all this, with all due respect, Melania Trump immigrated to America in 1996 and became a U.S. citizen in 2006. And her husband, who has built an entire political platform on criticizing immigrants for not assimilating fast enough, one would reasonably assume that his first lady might put a little bit more effort in connecting and showing the basics of American cultural rhythms. And let's all be for real. If a leader got up there and had a thick Somali accent, the highest office in the land would relentlessly mock her, calling her garbage and telling her to go back where she came from. But hey, maybe those standards don't apply to immigrants from certain places. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, red-blooded American-born Barack Obama, and yes, that was totally meant to throw shade at Trump's horrific birther movement that entirely bases in wholly racist conspiracy theory that falsely claimed that Obama was not a natural-born U.S. citizen, popped out for his story time too. At the Bessie Coleman branch of Chicago Library, he had the book turned to the kids, illustrations on full display and full theatrical voice and energy. He even wore a Santa hat. Those kids were locked in. The adults were too, though. So here we are, two different story times, two public figures, two entirely different energies. And it really makes you wonder, who exactly is expected to assimilate in this country? And who gets to exist however they please? So moving right along, because I'm not trying to start anything, let's head over to sunny Florida. It's going down in Gainesville. According to police reports, 35-year-old Inquiet Latifah Quinn followed another woman home after an argument, ran over the lady with her car, And her social medias, which are completely wide open, and I scrolled all the way through them, show that Anquiette wanted all the smoke. Witnesses say Quinn aimed a pistol at the victim during the confrontation. The victim tried to escape, but Quinn got back in her car, hit the woman with her car, and left that woman with some serious injuries. So let me just pause right here. You pointed a pow-pow, you hit somebody with a vehicle, and then what did you do next? You drove to work in that same car, parked it, and clocked in for your shift. Come on, y'all. Y'all are losing it. This lady carried on her alleged day like she allegedly didn't hit somebody with her alleged car. Allegedly. Now, according to the updated police report online, the officers responded around 9:33 p.m. They found the victim on the ground, badly injured. Sister was towed up. This is the part that sticks with me, though, and why I had to come and talk about this story. Authorities say this entire situation stemmed from a personal dispute, and based on the context, it's giving relationship entanglement. Is this another man in the middle story? I think it is. It's got to be involving a man, right? I have an entire playlist on my YouTube called Fights, Fallout, and Fatal Consequences, where I cover cases just like this. Quinn has been arrested, and of course she's being held on multiple charges, including aggravated battery and assault with a deadly weapon. The car is a deadly weapon, just in case you didn't pick up on that. This is a developing story, and I'm closely watching it. Alrighty, let's go to my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. Oh Lord, what have we done now? Y'all just gotta give me a minute because a former Shelby County, damn, bro. this can't, y'all just gotta give me a second because this one just blows me away. A former Shelby County deputy has been officially decertified as a law enforcement officer in the state of Tennessee after admitting to engaging in the sexual activity inside of a courtroom while on duty and in uniform. Well, part of his uniform.
Commissioner Beverly, I just got two questions. Did you engage in oral sex inside of a courtroom?
I didn't engage in oral sex. She engaged in oral sex. I received, yes.
Okay. Were there citizens in the building at the time?
So I can't say my court was down.
He was on the clock, and according to investigators, this wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment.
But that's not always happening. I was always able to respond to a call or need to be responding to a call. That was a late team.
I disagree. I don't think if you're taking that action, you're able to respond to a call.
This allegedly happened on several occasions. Now, the courtroom itself was empty while this was going on, but it was still open. And during the hearing, the former deputy decided to get very technical. He said, and I quote, "I didn't engage in oral sex. She engaged in oral sex and I received." Sir, it's not funny. It's not funny. I guess he was just trying to get ahead of himself during a stressful day. And let me remind everyone, it's order in the court, not oral in the court. Now, legally speaking, prosecutors did look into this criminally, but no charges were filed because this encounter was considered consensual. He has been decertified, which means he can no longer serve as a law enforcement officer anywhere in the state. But he can't go right across the street to Mississippi like all the other cops do. Tennessee is right next door to Mississippi. Anyway, but there is a silver lining to this. If you're looking for a job, there's 2 positions open over at the courthouse. One is desk duty, and the other is probably below the desk duty. How you like that for a Tennessee tornado? The deputy did try to delay the decision, citing a pending civil case, but that request, unlike his request, was denied. How y'all feeling? Because this is wild. From the football field to the courtrooms to the White House lawn, these stories go real deep, and I know I laughed a little bit, but this isn't just for fodder. And I know these stories can feel like just pure entertainment because they're happening to someone else and we're watching them from a screen, but they kind of force us to question everything we once thought was right and real. All right, so every week we produce a full show where we comb through the internet, court records, headlines, and social media to bring you stories that matter, the ones that you might not have heard about yet, but I feel like they deserve some more context, or at least more than a headline or just a simple hot take. We post new videos every Wednesday, sometimes more, but always on Wednesdays. So be sure to like, subscribe, and please hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I'm Naja Hall, and you have been watching Naja News. I want you to stay curious, stay critical, and stay on beat. I'll see you in the comments.
Naja News, it's news you can